saying about the departure of their former star.
Yeah, Courtney, talking to players after practice today served as a reminder about the kind of impact that Brown had in the locker room. When I asked cornerback Quinyon Mitchell about Brown, he said, "That's my big brother." And he noted how much confidence he helped instill in Quinyon at an early age in his development here. Cooper DeJean, similar thing, saying he was the first guy to call me All-Pro Coop, and he pushed me to live up to that name, which eventually he did. So there was a sense of loss amongst the players, but also a sense of relief that the A.J. Brown saga is now over.
I mean, just the relationship we had, the brotherhood and things like that. You know, some things you look back and, you know, we had a good time here. We had a great time here. The things that we did, the things we accomplished on the field, off the field, you know, you always cherish those moments.
We can move on now. I think most of us that have been here the last 6 weeks, we have moved on just from, we have enough to worry about, you know, of again, you know, getting over last year and then coming in here and learning a new scheme and new concepts. Like, we had to press on, and so that's what we were doing. I think this is more of a, you know, it sounds terrible, but like you know, thank God it's over. You know, it was the slow pain of just, is he in, is he out? You know, we didn't really know, and that really wasn't our focus as a team.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up two defensive players who probably barely even have a true relationship with A.J. Brown and barely even know him, and they're like, "Oh, that's like my big brother out there." Meanwhile, the people that actually know him for years and years and years have a little bit different things to say. Pretty funny. Pretty funny about that. And A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts were brothers. So, the whole like, "Oh, that's like my big brother right there." Yeah. Well, not even brotherhood lasts forever. How do I know? Because I don't even talk to my brother. This whole thing is becoming so interesting to me, and it is spiraling out of control. Spike Eskin. I remember on First Things First couple years ago, before the Eagles won the Super Bowl, they said Jalen Hurts is about to get Carson Winston. Nick Wright said we better listen to Eskin. He is like the godfather of Philadelphia media, that when he speaks you listen. And I was like, oh, wow, man. Nick, I didn't know you were such an expert on Philadelphia, you know, local radio and media. This is his son. We're going to unpack all of this. And I normally don't unpack the personal life stuff, but we are doing it. We are doing it. It's hilarious. An ESPN reporter can get 10 unnamed sources to say the same thing, and everyone says it's a lie. One rando anonymous Twitter account can come up with some wild story and everyone's like it's obviously true. What is that? Wild story, you ask? Now, we're not going to go into the super details, but we're going to talk about it. In essence, A.J. Brown and then Hassan Riek were in a little triangle, a little love triangle with someone else. That's what it's been being reported. Okay, that's what it's being reported. And apparently A.J. didn't know. A.J. didn't know. Jalen Hurts did know, and Jalen Hurts didn't say anything. And that is ultimately what has severed the relationship. Now you're saying, but this is just some random account that did this. Brandon Graham liked the tweet. Brandon Graham himself, the person who gave the whole story, the whole rundown of what happened that Eskin is talking about. Brandon Graham essentially confirmed it. And this is what's interesting. If you remember a couple years ago, Ben Grimm W. said, "I know one is trying and 11 could be better with how he responds to things." They were friends, but things have changed. When you put this all together, it starts to really make a lot of sense. A.J. Brown felt like he was wronged by Jalen Hurts for not getting involved in his relationship drama, which A.J. just got married, by the way. And if you look at the timeline, you do the math. Again, none of this is confirmed. I have no idea. It's up to you guys to try to figure out what's real and what's not. But, you know, I'm just saying, when those anonymous sources came out about Jalen Hurts, I saw a bunch of other players defend him, you know, current players like publicly defend him. And now the one rando online, I see Brandon Graham come out and again essentially publicly confirm it. So again, you do the math. You connect the dots yourself. I'm not having any confirmations. I'm not saying what's true and what's not. I'm just merely looking at everything as a whole. But in essence, A.J. Brown felt like he was wronged by Jalen Hurts on a private issue. And because of that, he torched everything. He was miserable about everything. He gave lackluster effort about everything. And we think that Jalen Hurts' name should be dragged through the mud. Remember when everyone freaked out at George Pickens for not giving effort, what was it, against the Detroit Lions game, I think it was, and they ripped him. Did A.J. Brown get that level of being ripped from the 49ers game when he clearly was not giving effort, remember? And then actually even Nick Sirianni got blamed for yelling at A.J. Brown and they were like, oh man, he just has no control over this team. This is so bad. Why did A.J. Brown not get any heat for that? But George Pickens in like essentially what ended up becoming like a meaningless game against the Lions for the Dallas Cowboys, who cares about that? That was like, let's have a whole conversation about it. But with A.J. Brown, we're just like, you know what? A.J. Brown's checked out of this team because, who wouldn't be checked out of this team? This whole thing is so ridiculous for many different reasons. For so many different reasons. Imagine thinking that Jalen Hurts should be blamed for this because he was just focused on football because he was not getting involved. You want to know what I think truly happened? You want to know what I think truly happened? I think there's a ton of truth to this. And again, I've been in locker rooms and I've been, listen, I've been AA brothers bro. I've been the mature guy. I've been the immature guy. It's like I've gone through all the cycles of all of this type of stuff. And so I know how these things operate. And the best explanation and advice that I could give you guys to try to figure this stuff out is just think of it like high school. I'm telling you, it's essentially just high school. You're 15, 16, 17, you're in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. It's no different. It is absolutely positively no different. The average person for the most part does not mature beyond everything still become think about in your own relationship. You could be married with kids and some of the disagreements that you have with your wife or your friends you'll be like, man, I feel like I'm in 11th grade right now, it still always goes back to that. But especially when you're a world-famous mega-wealthy athlete because the level of maturity that you have to go through is just different. It's just different. It gets muted significantly. And so that's where we're at right now with this. Look at it through the lens of remember when you were in English class talking about that girl with that guy and this and that. It's 11th grade. It's 11th grade right now except for Jalen Hurts because they're like, oh, Jalen Hurts, thinks he's above people that know, Jalen Hurts is just mature. He's a grown man. And I used to think that was considered a good thing. I'm confused. I thought we used to respect that. I thought we used to, Colin is all about hat forward, hat backwards. But with Jalen Hurts, it's no. You know what the reality is? Is that Jalen Hurts outgrew his relationship with A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is as Jalen Hurts is trying to become the best quarterback he could be. Jalen Hurts is trying to win Super Bowls. Jalen Hurts is trying to do everything. Jalen Hurts when he lost in the Super Bowl in 2022 was absolutely haunted by it. Haunted by it. And you think he wants to mess around with some sort of weird love triangle where someone's potentially cheating on his girl? I remember having a friend who was I would have to talk to him all the time because he was in love with this girl. Oh, I love her. Then they would have their problems, but he's like, I love her. What do I do? And it was yeah. And then he's cheating on her. And I'm like, I don't dude, what do we do? Oh. Like I am like wasting all this time and energy talking about this girl that you love and that you want to be with for the rest of your life and then now you're cheating on her. Like I don't want any like dude, leave me out of this. Also, like I talked to your girl. I'm friends with her. Like now you're like now I have to act like you're not cheating on her. They're like, what? Like, especially anyone knows this, like if you're actually close friends with someone, like if you're actually like you see yourself as a brother to them and like they're their girlfriend, their wife, like they become like your sister. And so it's like, dude, I don't want anything. I remember my other friend, this is a completely different friend. I like essentially became brother and sister, with his girlfriend. And I remember he like met some other girl. It was like one late night. We were just, out and about and he like met up with some random girl and I was like, what are you doing here? Like, and I just like grabbed him. I was like, can we just leave? Like, I'm not going to stand here while you start talking to some random girl like this. Like, I'm not like what are you doing? Don't involve me in this nonsense. And like also, you're a fool. You're a clown. Like, what are you doing? Why would you pop like for this one? What are you doing? And it was just like, he goes, yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't know what I'm do. ing. And it was just like, dude, like, wake up. Wake up. And so, like, that's where Jalen Harrier is. Like, wake up, man. Like, I don't like who do you think handled this whole situ? Who was more mature throughout the course of the entire last few years? AJ Brown or Jalen Hurts? Who handled it better? You tell me. And again, I'm not even going to go through all the stats because we'll have other time to do that, but it's just like, oh, he was like unhappy. Think about how he handled going to New England right now with like a fake picture of him wearing a New England Patriots jersey. I mean, did you guys know that he used like a fake picture of himself as like a kid wearing a New England Patriots jersey and like how he was acting like, oh, I'm finally free of Philly and all this. Did Myles Garrett do that with Cleveland Brown with the Cleveland Browns when he literally went nowhere in Cleveland? Nowhere. Cleveland gave him nothing. Absolutely nothing. The absolute utter disrespect that Saquon Barkley got from New York. And did he do any of this nonsense? No. None. And then look at AJ Brown. And then look at the actual mature people. Not Cooper DeIan because you know what? Cooper is not the most mature guy out there. Okay. He's not the most mature guy out there. But what about the actual mature players? The actual men like Milata, Brandon Graham, Devontae Smith, they're like, bro, that like go away. Go away. But yeah, we're going to interv. You Cooper Dean right now. Like, do you hear yourselves right now? Like, do you hear like what? They were rookies with AJ Brown and they won the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's a pretty magical season. That's a pretty magical season. And you want to know what their opinions are of it? Like, okay. Like, really? It's like kind of a weird sourcing right there. I think this whole thing has spiraled into ridiculousness. I really do. And the fact of the matter is that again, Brandon Graham has essentially confirmed this. That's what's then given me the sense of, more willing to talk about this side of it. And I think Eskin brought up such a great point about like all the anonymous sources and it's just like where's the deep dive into this? Where's the deep investigative journalism into this? I mean, it's actually kind of fitting that AJ's going to New England now, right? No wonder why him and Rabble are so close. They're like, oh, bro, can you hook me up with some ideas of like how to, how to navigate all of this? I mean, it's just crazy. Jalen Hurts has been dragged through the mud for the last 2 years, and during this whole process, I mean, like, everyone's just like, man, AJ is finally free. Finally free. And I just think that is an absolute utter disgrace. I think that is an absolute utter disgrace. I mean, the Eagles got A.J. Brown to 2 Super Bowls and have him become a Super Bowl winner. It's like, what did the Giants do for Saquon? What did the Cleveland Browns do for Myles Garrett? What have the Minnesota Vikings done for Justin Jefferson? Like, please tell me, what did Drake May do in the Super Bowl? What did Jalen Hurts do in the Super Bowl? I mean, A.J. Brown wanted it off this team when they were 4-0. But I thought it's all about the team. It's all about the team. It's all about the team. I mean, A.J. Brown was checked out all last year, all last season. That is so obvious. He directly hurt this team and their ability to win. And you want to blame Jalen Hurts? You just want to put it all on Jalen Hurts. You know what's really interesting about that? You want to know what's really interesting about that? In 2025, Jalen Hurts' stats and numbers and production was actually really great. You know, A.J. Brown's wasn't. And you know, one of the best things that we can look at, there's really two things that you can really look at. Are you winning off the line and your contested catch rate? Your contested catch percentage both absolutely plummeted for A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts didn't, and that was with a bad O-line, with a bad coordinator and no consistent run game, with one of the lower success rates that set up the pass game they had no advantage of, and yet Jalen Hurts was able to survive that and even thrive. That's right. When people say, oh, Jalen Hurts didn't have a good season, it's like you're so wrong. Jalen Hurts actually, when you factor in the other variables, it was actually awesome, and a big check mark for when I talk about how resilient are you as a quarterback. How resilient are you as a quarterback? Jalen Hurts showed tremendous resiliency. Tremendous resiliency. A.J. Brown did not. A.J. Brown did not, and I'm gonna make another video because it's actually pretty crazy when you think about if you factor in, because again, a contested target, you know, a contested catch percentage is very much going to be on the shoulders of the wide receiver. Are you getting it done? Are you winning these battles? Yes or no? And everyone keeps saying that A.J. Brown with a better team, with a better quarterback, would essentially be just top 2, top 3 in the league. And it's just really interesting because I did the math. I did the analysis, and what I found was pretty shocking. Was pretty shocking. So, I'm excited to make that video and go through that, because I did some interesting things with some of the numbers and some of the stats. And it's just, if you think it's all Jalen Hurts, you don't know what you're talking about. If you think it was actually just all coaching, there's also, I'm not going to say you don't know what you're talking about, but there's just some confusion. There's some confusion that I'm excited to clarify, but at the end of the day, the vast majority of all of this is on the shoulders of A.J. Brown, and he's coming out clean. He's coming out clean. As a whistle, like he has no part to blame in this, and it's like Jalen Hurts has done everything to keep this thing moving forward. He threw a touchdown pass to A.J. Brown, to a guy that essentially hates him, right? A guy that hates him, that has dragged his name and his reputation in the mud. Do you know what a real man does? Do you know what a real friend does? Do you know what a mature person does? They say, hey, you know what? I know I'm on my way to New England right now, but I really want to emphasize that, like, I absolutely loved Philly. I loved everything about it, and I know everyone keeps focusing on me and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is an awesome quarterback. I mean, just check the record. Check what we've accomplished. I am not trying to leave a Jalen Hurts, because I'm hearing all the comments right now. Of course, everyone's like, oh, I'm finally free with better quarterback. Put some respect on Jalen Hurts' name. He was the Super Bowl MVP for a reason. Like, it's really not that hard to say those things. It's really not. Especially when you're talking about publicly and reputationally that it actually matters. That it actually matters. A.J. Brown is the definition of a modern-day diva wide receiver. And we can talk about mental health issues, all that. That doesn't mean that you can just say and do whatever you want. That. You can just, use that as because that's what they tried to do with the whole book on the sidelines. That's what they tried to do. And you think like everyone else just is perfectly mentally like this, like are you kidding me? So the whole thing is just so ridiculous, and yet it feels like nobody actually wants to get to the truth of it. Why? Because it's just so much juicier. Jalen Hurts is bad. AJ good. Jalen Hurts not a good quarterback. AJ Brown great. Jalen Hurts holding AJ Brown back. AJ Brown free. They rather make it about that. But yet with Jalen Hurts, they want to make it about the non-football stuff. Oh, they call him Little Jordan in the locker room. Like, I'm hearing that they don't like Jalen Hurts in the locker room. And I guarantee you that there were people in that locker room that took AJ Brown's side with Jalen Hurts. And they're like, man, that's your boy. That's your bro. He didn't tell you. And it's just like, buddy, Jalen Hurts just outgrew you. You're out there still running around like an absolute fool. Whereas Jalen Hurts is trying to be the mature leader. What Jalen Hurts has to endure compared to what you have to endure. It's not even night and day. It's words that aren't even invented yet. Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl, wins the MVP, and he's still hated. You cry like an absolute little baby and you get defended and loved. Those are not the same. And the fact that you can't understand that, the fact that you can't comprehend that, the fact that you don't have compassion, I thought you're a man of God. I thought you should be rooted in compassion and understanding. I thought you should be rooted in wanting to help others around you. So why does one live according to that and the other doesn't? Why do we respect one so much more than the other? I mean, we live in a world where people will say that Ryan Tannehill is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. And then it's like, well, then why was AJ Brown so much better with Jalen Hurts? Varell's an amazing coach, right? He's like one of the greatest coaches ever according to people, according to the world. They were so excited to sell that to everyone going into the Super Bowl. Oh boy, were they. And we know how they feel about rabble because it got real quiet. They got real quiet. So, we know how they feel about rabble. So, we had Ryan Tannehill, great quarterback. Get Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, because Colin even went on a whole rant and said, oh, he's finally free from he's went to two teams where all they did was want to run the ball. I thought that was with the Eagles, too. Like Saquon Bark, like Derrick Henry, I thought they were one and the same. So then why did one team absolutely ball and dominate and the other did not? I know you think Vel's a better coach than Sirianni. A lot of people will say that Derrick Henry is better than Saquon Barkley. So where was it? Here where was it? I mean they had the bye and everything and their defense held the Bengals to only 19 points. What happened? Joe Burrow didn't even throw a touchdown pass in that game. 0 touchdowns and an interception and a passer rating of 93.1. So, keep pushing for the truth. Keep pushing beyond your bias and your preconceived notions and opinions. When you keep pushing for the truth, you might not always get 100% reality, but you get a lot closer to it. And it starts to clarify a lot of other things. But there's one thing that I do know without a shadow of a doubt in my heart, and that this whole thing has been an absolute disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace how this has been covered. How everyone jumps on Jalen Hurts and defends AJ Brown. It's an absolute utter disgrace. It's an absolute utter disgrace. And it really does make me think about when I was a kid and being faced with this feeling of why does it feel that there's other people that they don't pay the repercussion? They don't pay the consequences for not being good people, and like I'm a good person, but like okay maybe I made like one bad comment and then it like ruins everything, whereas you know Billy over there just does whatever he wants and it's just fine, it's just okay, he just gets away with it, and you have to wrestle like does that mean that like I shouldn't try to be a good person, or that like none of this stuff matters and you like you're it's like that you can walk two different paths in that moment. Do I continue to try to be a good person regardless of what happens, or do I just do whatever I want because it doesn't matter anyway? Do I be a good person because I think I'll receive the benefits and the fruits beyond this life, or do I just be a good person because you should just be a good person? And I look at this and I go, this is a perfect representation of all of this in real time on a massive global level. We have someone like Jalen Hurts who just wants to put in the work, who just wants to be the best person that he can be and the best teammate that he can be, and yet nobody wants to try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Seriously think about it. Is anyone actually giving him the benefit of the doubt when if we really think about it? Is anyone trying to give him the benefit of the doubt at all? No. They're not. Whereas everyone is giving A.J. Brown the benefit. Anyone who wants to now criticize A.J. Brown, they'll like, well, you're just soured Eagles fans. You're just greedy bad Eagles fans, you're the problem. And it's like unless you were hooking up with A.J. Brown's girl, like I don't think you're a problem. That's just the way how I look at it. If you were doing that, well then let me know in the comments because I'd like some more details, PG details. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about this whole thing continuing to unravel, and just the more details, the more things that come out? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get some discussions, get some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here. Absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.